This is why Judas gives Jesus the kiss of death, because Judas represents Scorpio. And Scorpio gives the God's Son, the light of the world, the kiss of death. And now he's going to die in Capricorn. He's going to die and go all the way down. But what's interesting about this is that the sun goes all the way down south until it hits what is called the winter solstice. And that's on December 22nd, the sun hits the lowest point on the sky in the south on December 22nd. It's called the winter solstice, the beginning of winter. And for 3 days, the United States Navy will show and explain it to you that the sun comes up for 3 days, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, on the same degree. It doesn't go any further south, and it doesn't come back north. But on the same degree that it was on December 22nd, the sun rises the next 2 days, 23rd and 24th, on the same degree. So the ancient people said that the sun was alive. He was the lion of the tribe of Judah, Leo. He got the kiss of death from Scorpio, and now he is 3 days, he's not moving at all. So therefore he's in his tomb for 3 days. Then on the 25th of December, the sun moves 1 degree northward. And you can calculate that, as the Navy does. You can calculate. It's very slight, but if you got the right instruments, you can see the sun move 1 degree northward. Therefore, it came back to life. So now we celebrate God's Son being born again. He's born again. When? On December 25th. So we celebrate Christmas, or Christ Mass. And then when you start looking at how the word S-O-N and S-U-N are interchangeable in Christianity, and God knows there's a lot of information on that. So that basically you boil down Christianity as some worship as astrology, Old Testament is astrology, some worship. Yahweh, as I said, was associated with the sun and the planet Saturn. Let me give you another example about the ancient religions of the world. Moses was a lunar deity. Moses was a leader of the moon cult. This is why in all the paintings and sculpturings in Europe, you will always see Moses wearing horns. You ever seen that? Moses wearing horns. It's in the Vatican. It's in all the museums of the world. Why is Moses always pictured with horns? Because Moses was a leader of a lunar cult, the moon worshippers. So at one time, the Jews were worshippers of the moon, and that time, a period of time, we call the period of Moses. In Arabia, there's a high mountain range in Arabia, and at night, from the Egyptian side, the moon comes up in the east, and it comes up from a mountain range. And so the ancient peoples believed that the moon was a god, and it lived in the mountain. And there are religious celebrations of the old man of the mountain, the moon god. And in the ancient Arabic system, the moon god was called Sin, S-I-N. That was his name. The moon god of Arabia was Sin. And a mountain in the ancient language was spelled A-I. So you take the mountain Ai with the god who lived in the mountain, the moon god, Sin, and put it together, it becomes Sinai. So you get Moses goes up into Sinai. No, it's Sin Ai, the mountain of the moon god. And this is why Jews have their celebration after sundown, because that's when the moon comes out. They don't have the celebration during the day because that's when the sun's out. So that's the time for Christians to celebrate God's Son. The Jews are worshiping the moon god, Sin. So I don't intend to, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I'm just trying to tell you where religions come from. Religions have been given to us by the same people who gave us our government, our banks, our educational institutions, our whole entire ruddy system in Western civilization is based on religion, politics, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's just business. It's just money. It's just to control the people. And if you think it's crazy when I say sex, you have no idea in the world how sex plays a part in everything. The very fact that a man wears a black robe, that's a feminine dress. And God, there's so much you could talk about with the subject of sex in religion. The whole thing is based on sex. The cross is a sexual symbol. Even in Egypt, the Egyptian obelisk is like the Washington Monument, for instance. The Washington Monument is an Egyptian obelisk. An obelisk represented a male phallic in the erection. And the male phallic is connected to the female ovaries. It's called the Oval Office. So the point I'm making is that our institutions around the world, especially in Western civilization, are based on symbolism, lies, deception, manipulation of our thinking, and somewhere along the line, if you're really looking for truth, and most people aren't, like that movie when well, who was it? Tom. Yeah, in the movie when, anyway, the kid says he wants the truth, and the other guy said, you can't handle the truth.
Our country, like so many before us, and like so many after us, was in fact founded by Freemasons. Freemasonry has played a part in almost every government ever founded in this world. It is in operation today throughout the world. We want to establish first that what we're not talking about is blue masonry or the Masonic lodges in your hometown. We're not talking about the Freemasons that live across the street from you. We're talking about a worldwide fraternal organization that is powerful enough, old enough, and wise enough to operate behind all governments in the world, behind fraternal institutions, monetary systems in the world, and yes, they are in fact connected. For instance, the idea that our country was founded by so many Freemasons and Rosicrucians, among others. Who are the Freemasons? Why are there emblems and symbols throughout the world on flags and emblems and symbols throughout the world on all sides of conflicts? We might ask ourselves about the Red Cross. The International Red Cross is a Masonic organization. They always, in every conflict, are able to go behind enemy lines. Why is the Red Cross, the International Red Cross, able to go behind enemy lines in wartime and conflict? There's a reason.
The judge don't give a damn about the facts. He's the boss, and in this court, he calls the shots. Well, yeah, but the other judge said, I don't care what the other judge said. This is my court, and I call the shots. So I will decide. If I kind of like you, maybe I'll give you a break. If I don't like you, maybe I'll add 10 years. Now, what are you going to do about it? You say, well, yeah, but the law says, no, don't bring that up. This is my court. I call the shots. Therefore, there is no law. America is a land of lawlessness. In the Bible, in the book of Revelation, it talks about the rise of the man of lawlessness. And I've often wondered about that. It's very interesting. A lot of interesting, important stuff written in the Bible if you know what you're looking at. But it talks about in the book of Revelation the rise of something called the man of lawlessness. And I used to wonder why, what in the world was that all about? Because America's got so many laws. We've got thousands of law books. That's all we are, is got law books. So how can there be a man of lawlessness that would rise in the world? Well, now I understand. America is the home of the man of lawlessness. George Bush couldn't care less what the Constitution says, the Bill of Rights. It just don't matter. He's the boss, and whatever he says do, that's what you're doing. You say, well, yeah, but the law says they don't care. And if you bring that up again, you're going to jail. Why? Because he represents the Vatican. The Bush regime was front for the Vatican. The most important enemy this country has today, people will never understand it, but the biggest enemy that this nation today has is the Vatican. The Vatican is behind the crap that's going on all over. What do you think the founding fathers, whatever we call them, the founding fathers, where did they come from? The people who founded this country, they came from Europe. Well, 2,500 years, Rome, under the Caesars of Rome, and then after the fall of the Caesars in the 4th century, and with the coming of the Vatican in the 5th century, all of Europe has been dominated for over 2,500 years by Rome. And Europe has dominated the world for 2,500 years. So I'm saying that if you want to find out who the real enemy of this country is, you better start looking at the Holy Father. And you better start finding out the connection between the Vatican and the Nazi Party of Adolf Hitler.
Thank you, Jordan. I'm sorry, we have very limited time, so we have to let David Wilcock come on stage now.
And I'm just getting warmed up.
I know you are, and God bless you.
Ask yourself also about the biological warfare going on in the world today. AIDS coming from out of nowhere into the homosexual community. What are homosexuals doing today that they didn't do 6,000 years ago? And why is it we all of a sudden in 1980s have AIDS? Is there any connection between AIDS and the Legionnaire's disease and biological experimentation going on with the CIA, the USIA, the NSA, and all the other government agencies that you don't know anything about? Is it possible that there could be some sort of a biological experiments going on, some of them going awry, some of them purposely allowed to go awry to see how far they will go? Is there any kind of a rhyme or reason for the things that are happening today? Keep in mind, too, that what your government pays for, it gets. If you are paid to do something for the government, they will extract from you exactly what they have paid for. When we understand that, then we look at universities and schools, government-financed institutions of education, and see the kind of students and the kind of education that's being turned out by these government-financed schools. Logic will tell you that if what is being turned out in those schools was not in accord with what the state and the federal government wanted, then it would change it. The bottom line is that the government is getting what they have ordered. They're getting what they have paid for. They do not want your children to be educated. They do not want you to think too much. That is why our country and our world has become so proliferated with entertainments, mass media, game shows, television shows, amusement parks, drugs, alcohol, and every kind of entertainment to keep the human mind entertained, so that you don't get in the way of important people by doing too much thinking. You had better wake up and understand that there are people who are guiding your life and you don't even know it. And all American citizens, I think, have suspected something like this is going on. But we're all too busy trying to stay alive and live our lives. And after all, what can one person do about it? One person can do nothing. But a nation educated can do much.